that's when I did believe, really, for the first time, that I could and possibly was going to win.
So, Stuart Field, Mastermind Champion. Has it changed you?
Not in the slightest. Still on cloud nine, really. It's not really sunk in, and it was filmed over 5 months ago. So it's just been an incredible experience, from going back a long, long way to the initial application, really.
Yeah. Getting to the final itself is a tremendous achievement. Winning it, even more so.
Yeah, very unexpected win. I turned around in the breakfast queue, saw Michael, and I said, oh God, it's you. As I expected him to be in the final, as I'd seen him in the heat and done a 30-plus score in the heat. And so when I saw him, I suspected he'd be in the final. He was. And at that point, I thought, well, the pressure was off, really. I thought, I just want to go in. I prepped for it. I prepared. I felt very, very confident about my special subject. And I was confident I would finish about third, if I'm honest.
In a way, it's kind of good to have the pressure off a little, and to be able to just play the game as it stood. We'll get on to the final itself in a minute, but it was really interesting you talking in the VT about having watched Fred House go as a 13-year-old, seeing somebody you perhaps wouldn't expect winning Mastermind, kind of a little bit of an inspiration for you. When did you discover that you yourself had an aptitude for quizzing?
As a kid, about that age, 13-year-old, for Christmas, I basically wanted a football and a Guinness Book of Records. I had my head in the Guinness Book of Records for hours on end, and like you just get lost in it, and you'd finish, like, have your tea and think, oh, that's 3.5, 4 hours gone. And I always thought I had a bit of an aptitude for remembering trivia and rubbish, and like, the tallest man in the world ever, and I always felt I could recall these really silly little facts, and so I felt that was a string to my bow. So what I've tried to do over the years, Gareth, is try to accumulate knowledge and keep going, while hoping and praying that my speed of recall was still there, which it is now that I'm 56, not in my late 60s, as stated by Michael McPartland on Monday night. Michael, we'll have words. So I've always wanted to add to my knowledge whilst hoping that my speed of recall was still there, which it still is. So.
And you said about, Mastermind is the one show you'd always wanted to win. So had this been at the back of your mind from that early age, or was it something that as an adult started to loom large?
Oh, from that age, from about 13, because it was all over the papers, all over the news about this chap called Fred House, a mere taxi driver winning Mastermind. It was everywhere. Fred was on the chat shows. And so at that point, I didn't really know much about Mastermind before that. And so when I saw the program, and the clips of the lighting, the music, very gladiatorial, all the people sat in the chairs coming out to answer the questions, they're being just there on their own in the spotlight, that really appealed. And as there's nobody there to help you, your mates are just gone. It's just you against Magnus Magnusson asking the questions. That's what appealed, a really sort of gladiatorial feel to it.
You said in one of the other media interviews you've given that it was like 20 years of preparation went into Monday night. When did you start quizzing properly?
Well, I'd always done pub quizzes since my late teens, early 20s, but really it was only 20 years ago I started really putting hours in at home, when I was coming back from quizzes and realising how little I knew, really. And it was in those weeks in between the pub quiz when I started to put more and more hours in, and I realised the penny dropped that the quizzes weren't really won on the night, they were won in the week running up to it. And those weeks, week on week on week, month on month, year on year, that's when I realised that that's when the quizzes are won, and that it was no fluke that the same teams and people were winning week on week, that they'd put the hours in over a number of years. So that's really when I became a serious quizzer, in inverted commas, about 20 years ago when I started putting a lot of hours in.
Yeah, and what form did that take? Reading? Were you note making or question writing?
Having a to-do list, realizing what I didn't know, working on my weak areas, going away, researching stuff like the John F. Kennedy's assassination, the wives of Henry VIII, the Profumo scandal, the Roswell incident, etc. Thinking, I don't know much about this. I want to go and look at it. Any kind of information that I could get my hands on to go away and improve. It was interesting stuff. It was a labour of love.
I understand you've played in some quiz leagues around the Sheffield, Derbyshire area.
Yeah.
Did you go through the usual process that many have gone through of you really like pub quizzes, but actually you want to be tested on different stuff, that broader stuff that doesn't come up, and really have that competitive side comes out?
Yeah, it was, up in your game, as it were, wanting to play at that high level. I mean, the Derbyshire Pub Quiz League, played in it for a number of years. I mean, like somebody got to know pretty well. Someone like David Edwards, really inspirational. I've played at the Brain of Derbyshire level, never won that. But it's that step up from your pub quiz when you're playing in a structured league, playing against good teams. You're in the spotlight as well with your individual rounds. There's team element, individual rounds, playing against really good players. I mean, David Edwards, Ewan Thomas, etc. So it's that step up and just wanting to. And it was fun driving around Derbyshire to all these little backwaters. Really fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people can relate to that. You said about Mastermind, that was the one you're aiming for. Had you done any other TV before you went on Mastermind this time around?
Yeah, I've been on 15 to 1, The Chase, Eggheads, and with the missus, I went on 100k drop with the Venus. We won. Yeah, we were handed 100 grand cash, great big bundles of cash, and it is genuine money as well. Dumping it all on the different options and hoping that none of it falls through into the abyss below. So we walked off that with 2.5 grand, which is nice. Paid for trip to New York. With the others, I've took the positives out of the previous ones. The Chase, I mean, I got 12 in a minute. Really, really pleased with that. Unfortunately, didn't walk off the show with anything. Eggheads went on with a team from Sheffield Council. We actually got the same number of questions right as the Eggheads, but with the way it fell, they actually edged us out on the last question. And 15 to 1 got to the last 3. So a bit of a mixed bag, but I always took the positives out of it, knowing that they were all sort of stepping stones towards this. It was always this Mastermind that was my ultimate goal.
And then you applied to go on Mastermind. Is this your first time going on Mastermind this time?
This is my first time on. I'd applied once before and didn't hear anything whatsoever. So I was a bit disappointed, but I applied again back in late 2021, and in early 2022 I got an email saying they were auditioning. So like I was basically running around my house shouting to my other half, like, oh my god, I've got an audition on Mastermind. Is it? And she's really pleased for me. And so I had the audition. It went very well, and I told her, I said, I reckon I'll get on, and I got shortlisted. Then the number of emails exchanged about possible subjects, etc. I thought, this looks promising. Got my spot on the show in the last 96 get on. And it went from there, really. That was started preparing for it. And the first heat was filmed on the 1st of July last year.
And interestingly, you said that you felt you got out of jail twice in your run to the final. First time was tiebreak with, I think, James Horton, wasn't it?
Very strong quizzer, very nice chap.
Superb quizzer, lovely guy. It was high scoring. I think that was the other thing about it, wasn't it? You 27, which for the series was quite high scoring. It's a bad luck for both of you being up against each other. Did you kind of learn anything? What do you take from that experience of going through that extra step, that extra bit of tension, and coming through it? Was there some enhanced self-belief?
I have to say, yeah, because at the halfway point, I was only on 10, James on 13, and I went to the chair and thought, this is it, it's do or die.
Mm.
And on my general knowledge, I thought I performed really, really well. I was trying to
Mm.
leap in, which I shouldn't clearly do. I was giving answers out before Clive had finished, and ended up on 27. And I was counting James' score, and he was doing so well. I actually stopped counting, thinking I was out. And then Clive declared James to have 27 as well, and my heart leapt as I got another go at it, as I thought it was out. And then because we were both on 27, I thought, great, game on. Because I had outscored James on the general knowledge slightly, I thought the odds slightly favoured me at that point.
And so it turned out you nicked another 2 points in that playoff, that tiebreaker, and went through. So fantastic to come out the other side of that on your first Mastermind experience. You had the full works. In your time thinking about going on the show over all those years, and then once you knew you were cast, had you thought about the tactics you would employ? You were answering quickly. You didn't pass. Was this sort of deliberate? This is how I'm going to play the game.
The time goes so quickly, and if you just got to try and dismiss these questions out of hand. If you haven't got a clue, like in the final, I just saw when. Do have some acronym to with the Northern Irish Assembly somewhere. The answer was MLA or something. And I just went ABC, just to get it out of the way. I didn't want to pass because I thought passing might be crucial. So I was fully aware of the passers rule. In just to go ahead slightly to the semi-final, when I didn't actually think I'd won. I got it in my head that I needed 24 to go through. When there was George scratching 23. Yeah. So I was sat in the chair thinking. I needed 24, no, then he got 23. So when I was declared 23, with me being a bit thick and all that, I actually thought I'd lost. So I think, 23, I've lost by 1, went back to a chair, and then I was declared the winner. So crazy time.
It is funny when you're in the studio how sometimes you can just kind of lose track of quite how it's going. But again, that was an interesting one because George did pass. And when he was on our show, he was talking about his tactic was, if I pass very quickly, then I might end up getting an extra question or something down the line.
Absolutely, yeah.
So 2 very different strategies, 23 points winning on passes. At what point did you start to think, okay, I'm in the final now? Or did you start to think, I'm in the final now? I've got a shot at this, I've got a shot at the dream. Or were you aware that maybe first time round on Mastermind, that was still a long shot?
I knew on paper I got 1 in 6 shot, and going into the final in the run-up, I strongly suspected Michael McPartland would be in the final, as I'd seen him get easily over 30 in the heat, as this was one of the first heats shown.
Yeah.
And so I went over to Belfast for the 3rd and final time for the final, and with no real expectation to win, I thought I would finish comfortably in the pack because I felt incredibly confident about my special subjects. I did predict that I would, after the special subject round, I would be either leading or jointly leading. I predicted that, but I didn't think I'd have enough to get over the line and win the ball in the run-up. When I saw Michael, as I said, in the hotel, I turned around and I just thought, okay, the pressure's off us somewhat. And I walked into the studio with no real expectation and I was nerveless, basically. I had no nerves. That I did feel incredibly confident going into the final. As odd as that sounds, with absolutely no expectation of winning. Before my special subject, that was the most confident I've ever felt of any quiz, any exam, any job interview, anything. I knew I was going to absolutely nail my special subject. And the crucial round of the entire final was Michael going up for a special subject. I thought if he nailed it, if he got 13, 14, 15, I thought the quiz was basically over and he was going to win. And so when he got 9, that's when I did believe, really, for the first time, that I could and possibly was going to win.
Now, we saw some people have different types of subjects throughout the series, but your 3 subjects, Jonathan Creek, Jason Bourne films, and extras, were all I guess, pretty similar in that they're pop culture, TV or film.
Yeah.
You, I guess, approach them in a similar way, in a way that if you were then going to do something that's a bit more, I don't know, statistical. We had the Lions rugby tours was one of them.
Yeah.
You know, do you think that kind of helped you, that you honed that approach to these things? So by the time you went in on extras, and we heard about you talking about like 1,000 to 1,200 flashcards, that by the time you went in there, you thought, I know how to do this sort of subject.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd always felt over the years that I became a bit of a menace to my other half, because I was watching TV programs and films and like coming out with the next line over and over again from like 20, 30 years ago, and she got really annoyed with it. And so I honed a bit of a process for the final for extras. I already had a very good grasp of the TV program, obviously, and I just drilled right down deeply into it. I knew so much about it anyway. Just went really into all the intricacies, like the editor and all different aspects. Like an answer I came out with of a company, Cooper Stockwell Joyce, that was just basically a business card, like shown for basically a second on screen. I thought, okay, that might come up. That's another card going. And as you say, strangely enough, mentioning about the British Irish Lions tour, that to me is very left field. That anything really could come up, and it was coming up, really throwing Ben off the scent, as it were. I was thinking, this would not be for me. It really difficult. But with the TV programs, you could just go over and over them, make cards, think that might come up, that might come up, that might come up, going really deep into the program. That's how I got it down to a bit of fine art, because I went 10 for John and Krieg, 11 for the Bourne films in the final 15. I was like desperate to always leap in and like knowing the answer really quick, really wanting to bang the answers out.
Yeah. And that's when you know you've done your prep. And I think for Mastermind, it's always good to over prepare. It's a bit like some sort of resistance training, because actually when you get to do it, it feels easier because you've dug really deep. But it was interesting on Monday night, Michael was talking, because he did the Rocky films, that he hadn't expected the degree to which there might be things you observed rather than things that were said in the films. Whereas you've just given an example of something that you observed, took it, made a flashcard, and brought that into your approach. So
yeah, I think Michael mentions about a date of someone's death on a gravestone, or date of the birth. I actually remember that in the chair, thinking, "Wow!" I was coming up a few minutes after Michael, thinking, "Wow, that is niche," you know.
But when you know you've covered the niche stuff in your own subject, I guess that kind of takes some of the nerves away, and you were feeling pretty confident, and quite rightly so. I don't know how many episodes of extras there were, 12, was it, something like that?
Yeah, 12 on a Christmas special. So in all, there's about 7.5 of TV, which is very, very doable, very manageable. So it was always my dream subject. I tried to do it on in the heat, tried to do it in the semi, and when there was some toing and froing about what was to do. And then for the final, they just said, "Yeah, you can do that for the final." And my heart lifted. I thought I was straight on it.
And we saw in the VT in the final that you writing cards out. Was it literal physical flashcards, or did you use some sort of app or your computer for it?
Bought the flashcards from the local stationers, physically writing them out, physically going through them over and over. You get them wrong, It's okay to get them wrong, because you start getting them right. As Jimmy Greaves said, a famous goal scorer, you've got to miss them, score them. So you start off getting them wrong, but then ultimately, I felt really, really good about my special subject. Really confident.
There was discussion online during the show and in our discussion afterwards on Quizzy Monday about what it's like to be in chair 6 in that first round while you're watching everybody else go. What is going through your mind when you're seeing those subjects? You've already heard about, you kind of taking in one of the questions that Michael was asked and kind of reacting to it, thinking that was difficult. Are you sat there kind of starting to anticipate what your subject might be? Are you getting more nervous? What is it like in chair 6?
I think chair 6 is the most advantageous position, personally. I think that's my honest opinion. I think you can see what's happening. You see what's gone ahead of you. I was calm. I was watching. I wasn't really massively into all the questions, but I was sort of taking a passing interest, just trying to keep calm, do my breathing, just sort of getting ready. And I was really like a bit like a coiled spring. I just wanted to go. I just wanted to get in the chair and just. I felt really calm. I seen what they'd done. I mean, for example, James B being seat 2. I was really appreciative. It showed I was. Me and others were looking over and smiling. I actually was clapping him because when he got 14. So I thought, oh, okay, stiff competition here. And Michael, I say, got 9. So the difference between those two, James in seat 2 and Michael, that's when I thought the game was completely wide open.
Yeah.
And really for taking, if I'm honest, I thought at that point, I thought I can win this. I definitely can win.
And clearly that won't have changed then when you went and nailed your specialist subject round,
No,
and you're sitting
I
at
felt very
halfway.
confident. Yeah.
Yeah. So when they're then running through the general knowledge rounds, and again you're going to be last in the chair. You know, when you go in and you see Michael McPartland there and you assume you're not going to win, that's one thing. When you know it's now a realistic prospect and you see the scores as they're mounting and you're thinking, actually, I can probably do this general knowledge wise. I've got the general knowledge to this. Did the nerves start to kick in?
No, I don't think so. I was very relieved that the score I had to get was like a 25. The highest score after that was 25. Before it was Michael's 24. Then it crept up by 1. I thought I needed 11 to win. I thought he was definitely advantaged me at that point. I thought I was going to do it. I felt good. And I felt I was going to squeeze over the line and get roughly about 28, what I got, to be honest. I thought I got 13 in me on general knowledge. I did feel confident, and at the end, it sort of squeezed it out. I thought it was touch or go whether I'd done it at the end, as I sort of lost all track, basically.
Yeah, we saw your reaction when Clive goes, but it doesn't matter because you've got 28 points, and you could see from your reaction, I don't know whether it was a combination of surprise or relief or what it was, but there was certainly that kind of,
Yeah, I think I was actually in that position for a long time. It was cut to a very short time, but I think I was actually in that position for a long time, as I was in my little moment there.
Yeah.
And it cut it right down. And yeah, it was a beautiful moment. That moment when I was told I'd won was the greatest moment of my life. I must say that. On the greatest day of my life.
There are precious few things we do in life which kind of convey some kind of immortality, but you will now be on the Wikipedia page of Mastermind forevermore. You will be always on the list.
I've checked it. I am already. So yeah,
on the list of champions. It's something that can't be taken away from you. Something massive that you've achieved, and most of us can only dream of. What happens? This is one thing I guess people don't see, you never see on camera, but when they've presented you with the trophy and everybody's applauded, etc., what then happens in that kind of post-recording thing? Some of the photos or whatever I've seen look like the rest of the contestants had gone, for example. So did you have to wait around and do more and more stuff afterwards?
Yeah, I did a few shots with the bowl piece to camera, and then went backstage and had a few words with the real hierarchy of the makers of the show. Came in to congratulate me. So I was sort of hanging around the studio for a bit, having a chat with the people from Hat Trick. Really amazing people that make you feel like royalty. So then I think I was around there about half an hour, and then I got walked back to the hotel, which is just around the corner, by a lady, Brenda from Hat Trick. And she walked me to the hotel. I'm there thinking, well, what do I do now? My head was all over the place. I was like on cloud 56, not cloud 9. I said, what do I do? So we walked into the hotel, me and Brenda, and the lads, all 5 of them were there in the hotel reception, gave me a round of applause, which was really nice. And they said, we're going to go out on for afternoon drink session. You coming? So I thought about it for a nanosecond, said, yeah, clearly. Went up to the hotel, dumped stuff, straight back down. over the road, and we had a really good laugh tonight. Really great afternoon. Got some great photos, and people lads from all around the country, different walks of life, and it was really good, really amazing afternoon. Really great times, great memories.
I imagine you've done a bit of press and a bit of I don't know, radio, etc.
Yeah, I did a piece, Radio Sheffield, on Tuesday morning while I was still in bed on the phone to Radio Sheffield. I was still sort of a bit groggy from the night before, and there was a North, a local TV station, on Tuesday from the local pub where the pub quizzing on a Monday night. So it's unfortunate I couldn't have cloned myself on Monday because I wanted to do this with yourself. I wanted to be at my local pub where I generally go quizzing on a Monday, and clearly I wanted to be in my house with about 25 people around, which was a great night. So yeah, I've done the press. It's, in the words of Mae West, it's better to be looked over than overlooked.
Now you've achieved Mastermind. Have you got anything else in your sights?
Well, I see myself a bit like, an international footballer that's basically just gone into a competition like the European Championships or a World, done really well and decided afterwards basically to bow out as such. I won't technically be bowing out. I won't have that pressure on me that I've put on myself over a number of years now. Pressure to do more hours and hours and hours across the week of quizzing and ploughing into that to-do list. I think because this was the ultimate goal of a long period of time, and I've achieved that. There won't be that pressure on me now to perform at this level. I'm now, as I said, I'm now 56. I wish to be here for see. I don't think this is the last Sheffield quizzer that's going to come through and win something big. I'm looking around at people like Tom Mead, who you may know, Matt Lowson, people like this, talented young individuals, and just see them maybe come through, and if I'm here to help them in any way, and also if there's any kind of Mastermind Champion of Champions, which is always a possibility, I'll be absolutely well up for that. I really do regard myself as really rather fortunate to have won. It dropped on the day. I put the work in. Sometimes you do earn a bit of luck,
I think that's right. I think, any quiz, there is an element of luck, what comes out. But as you say, you earn that luck by putting the hard yards in over the course of 20 years, over the months leading up to each episode, and the weeks that you got preparing for that. You control what you can control, and then you hope the rest takes care of it. What advice would you give to somebody who is thinking about going on Mastermind and how they should go about it?
My advice is the vast majority of people that going on, they could have done what I did on the specialist subject. Okay, say for example 7.5 hours of TV, drilling down right into that subject. The vast majority of people can do that, but where they would get caught out would be the general knowledge aspect. But what I realised that for the general knowledge, that's took me years and years and years just for those extra few points, and that is where it's told. That's my honest opinion. That Rome wasn't built in a day, and I applied myself for years and years and years. And I would look at people, younger ones, like in the final, such as Ben Spicer and James Davidson, and realise their age, say in the 20s and 30 tops, and I think if they're only 6 points behind the winner, i.e. me, if they look long term in the next 10 years, 15 years plus, they could come back and they could win this. If I were in their shoes, that's what I would be thinking. That I would go away, really look at the timescale, come back stronger by the time, come back, just keep putting hours in, working on the weak areas. 6 points behind me now, then in 10, 15 years, they could do it. Because if my 30-year-old self was up against them now, they would obliterate me completely.
Finally, you got that wonderful little message from Ricky Gervais beforehand. Have you heard anything since?
No, not heard of Ricky. No, I would like to. I mean, I don't have to contact him. He'll be over in Hollywood polishing his Golden Globes or whatever. But it was a great message. I really liked. Really funny. That is a really funny program. I didn't think he could top The Office when he did that, but when Extras came out, I thought it was easily quite a lot better. Easily better.
Thanks so much for talking to us, Stuart. Really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to have a chat and share your experience.
It's interesting to talk about the final and the entire process. To be honest, it was a great year, a great experience. So glad I got on the show. I mean, it just built and built from getting an audition to getting shorts, getting on the show, getting into the semi, getting into the fight. Just built and built. It was an amazing year. 2022 was an amazing year, ending with an amazing day. And I was having a bowl up in the living room now. You know?